Finger up your nose. The stream.
Anyways, yeah. Anyway, so I wrote. I wrote. I'm wearing this hat today, the Cincinnati Reds, and it has some meaning to me. And I would keep this in my office so I could stare at it. And sometimes I have to put it on. Now, let me tell you the story behind this hat. So, when I was, man, many moons ago, I was in school and I wanted to be a technical animator. I was going to school. I wanted to work for Disney. I wanted to be the guy who made cartoons and be in the movies. And while I was going through, because it was a graduate school, so while I was going through graduate school for this, I was actually in Chicago, DePaul University, and I fell in love with Chicago for sure. And while I was going through this, there was an opportunity for to work for the Cincinnati Reds, and the Cincinnati Reds was looking for someone for their scoreboard, right? So if you ever go to a sports, event on the scoreboard, they have all these animations going on, right? Like things flying in and out, words coming in, blowing up. You got a picture of the guy and whatever is happening, right? And I wanted to be that person who created it. So I reached out, I put my application in, I sent it over, I sent over my demo reel, and they sent me back this this heartbreaking letter that just says you weren't picked. We decided to move on for to another candidate. So what happened was is like I was not prepared, right? I didn't really have my demo reel put together. I was like, so when I put it together, I just quickly did it together. I was like, wow, let's do this real quick. And it's actually pretty cool. I should show you the demo reel because I have it on like Vimeo or something. But with this hat, I bought this hat specifically to remind me to, always, it's okay. Like, how's that saying go? It's like, you want to be prepared for the situation and not have an opportunity than have an opportunity and not be prepared. So when I see this hat, when I wear this hat, it's like I want to make sure that I am fully prepared for any opportunity that comes my way and to make sure that I have done my everything that I've needed to do to know that when that opportunity comes, that I'm ready. So what does that mean for us in this moment? And for me, it's AI, right? Like AI is coming by storm. We've talked about AI. We're implementing AI in our business, but I think we can level up our AI even more, right? And I feel like right now I'm a little bit behind, and I was talking AI years ago. I
Yeah.
remember being at Disney with my mother, and she's like, "What's Chat GPT?" And at that time, we're like just using it for emails, right? Like, oh man, writes
Well,
emails,
that's the danger point. If your mom asks you what's Chat GPT, it's already mainstream. And so you have to be legit on it. And that story that you were telling me about just makes me think about, we were doing some business planning and scaling, and we've talked about it before. 10x is easier than 2x. That's a book by Ben Hardy, who I had the pleasure of meeting in Mexico, the beautiful part of Mexico. And golly, like that opportunity that you had with the Reds, in hindsight, what could you have done differently if you're like, I'm getting this job and you had the time to prepare? What would you have done differently?
I think what I would have done is better dive into the tools that I needed to get the job done, right? So a lot of what they use and those things, it's called cinema. I mean, it might be different now because who knows, right? It's After Effects with Adobe,
Sure.
it's Cinema 4D, it's all these things, and I don't think, and truly, like when that opportunity came, I knew that I didn't put in enough hours, enough work, enough, trying. Like I didn't do my part.
Yeah.
So when I had that opportunity, I like quickly put together the demo reel, looked at Cinema 40X, I did a little bit of, this, and I understood a little bit, but I knew like I wasn't ready. Like I knew
Right.
I
So
wasn't ready.
let's say, make it critical, right? Like let's go hyperbolic. Your family will die if you don't get this job, Michael. Like, so like you're all in, you're getting the job. What would you do differently?
Man, I don't know what you're looking for, but I will tell you there are some things that I've done to get jobs, and it's how do I make myself stand out.
Yeah.
So there was an opportunity for a marketing director for a healthcare system, and I mean we're talking years ago, man. And I was like, I could do this job. So what I did is I went to the store, I bought this toy set for like doctors, right? Like little kids use, right? So it had a band-aid in there, had I think that's called a stethoscope. It
Yeah,
had
yeah,
all
yeah.
this stuff, right? So then I created this image, and purposely I got an illustration image of a doctor like working. It might have even been a dentist because there was a patient there. From what I remember, and then I cut out my face, right, smiling, and I put it on top of the illustration, and I mailed a package over to the marketing person or the hiring person, and I said, in the thing, I said, I am your marketing person, your healthcare marketing doc or something. And that got me the interview, which got me the job, like that.
Oh,
So I think if I could have done more, one, I could have prepared more for the job for the Reds.
yeah.
I could have done my work. But I also would have tried to figure out how do I make myself stand out in the moment of amongst everyone else,
I
because
I love that, and I think that segues perfectly into 10x is easier than 2x. It seems preposterous that statement 10x is easier than 2x, but a lot of us that don't take the time to work on the business and they're just focused on working in the business, they want to grow this year. Where at the beginning of the year, people want to grow. Growth is great. Um, if we're focused on a 2x growth or a 20% growth or a 10% growth, it's just easier to do more of the same thing. Whereas like that story that you just illustrated, how do you stand out? If we're going to do a 10x growth, you can't make twice as many phone calls. You can't go on twice as many jobs during the week. You have to do something dramatically different. You have to have leverage in your world, and you do have to stand out. What do we do if we want twice as many phone calls coming into people to see like what they want to remodel their house, whatever. You could run twice as many ads, but something dramatically different to go from where you're at to 10x growth. Now, 10x growth in a year is very unrealistic. It could happen, but in 3 years, it's very realistic. So what would it take if you wanted to do 10x growth in 3 years? You have to think differently, and that's why it's easier than 2x. 2x, I just do more of the same thing. I do work twice as hard. 10x, I have to think completely differently.
well, it's funny you say that because as we run ads, as we are trying to grab that hook for people, and it's like the scrolling, how do we stop the scroll? There is something to say about entertainment, and since we're talking about home services, I thought I saw this video, and I thought it was hilarious. It was these guys on a roof, and they're fixing the roof, right? And they're like spanning the the roof, and everyone's working, and then they look at this one guy, and he falls off the roof, and the guy with the video is like, well, that wasn't supposed to happen, and he keeps going. And I was like, what a great hook, right? Like, what a great, if that guy was doing an ad, that's what it'd be. And it had hundreds of thousands of views and likes,
Right.
and it was all because of how do you make that different. Now, if you're a home service business, you do not want to be advertising that your people fall off the roof.
No, that'd be
But
bad.
it's like, yeah, that'd be bad. So it's like, what can you be doing that can set yourself apart or get someone's attention just for that split second, so that because that's all we have, right? So when I met with the team yesterday, and we were talking about, like, I had to tell them, like, hey, we cannot forget what our purpose is when we're looking at the stages of when we're implementing ads, when we're doing the landing page. It's like in that moment, right? So if I'm a home service business and I'm like writing an email, and in that moment, if I'm writing an email to like my database of people who I worked with or people who have been interested, it's like the first thing I should focus on is the subject line, because the subject line, I have to sell the open,
Right.
right? So I have to sell the open. I'm not trying to, we forget, like as marketers, as business people, we want to sell. Like, hey, let me tell you about my great, amazing thing and why you should buy it right now. It's like, no, wait, we have to sell the subject line. So what will it take for the subject line to get the click to open the email? And then
Yeah.
once they open the email, I now my focus is, all right, what is my intention? Is it's either, I need them to click a button to schedule a call. I need to click them, have them uh schedule an appointment, or schedule, have them call me. Like, what do I need to say? What do I need to do? What do they need to hear for that next moment to sell that next step? And I think sometimes we forget that when we're on sales calls, or even just yesterday, I was listening to my friend, do some cold calling. And while he was cold calling, I was listening to him, and he was talking to the trying to get a hold of lawyers, but he was talking to, like, what they call it, the gatekeeper, right? The receptionist answering the phone. And that
Right.
receptionist, all she's meant to do is like stop the
Right.
distractions for this guy, right? And I was listening to my guy, and he's just like vomiting on this lady. He's like, "Oh, let me tell you what my thing does and how good it's gonna be for your business." And I'm thinking to myself, like, no, you have to sell her on getting you the
Right.
phone call, right? She's not gonna be an advocate for you. She has no idea who you are, right?
Right.
It's like, how do I sell that next step? And I think that's so important, because we forget that, because we want to sell, 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 sell.
Well,
And it's
that's
like,
one of the tools that we use for our clients, right? The leaky hose. I mean, I draw a Z on the paper where we start here and the goal's down here, right? And so maybe it's you know, closed, deals. You got dollar signs on the bottom of it, and up here you start like, what's the first thing that we do? You can look at every differently. If it's email, if it's cold calling, if it's marketing, if it's even like your annual goal for the year. Like if I took a look at, where do we start here? What's that customer journey? And email is a great one, great example, because what's the goal of that email? When we send it out, a lot of people will, oh, I'm supposed to communicate with the database. Well, yes, but what's the goal of that? If we want to build rapport with our database where they know you, like you, trust you, believe you have the best solution, that gives some idea. And then, like, really with that email list that we have, you should be able to figure on referrals coming from that if you build rapport with them. And so, like you said, the first thing coming out of that email might not even be the subject line. It might be like, what's the intention? Like, what's the goal that I have by sending out this email? And then from there, I'm going to do the subject, right? And then I'm going to tell the story in the body of the email so that I get the click. So then they go to the site, or they take the action that I'm looking to do. And so that strategy of like, where are things falling apart, and looking at the metrics and understanding industry standards on open rates, on click-through rates, on unsubscribes, all of these things. It's a game that we play, and it's a fun game to play. But this again going back to what I talked about before. If you want that intentional growth in your business, you got to take time to work on the business, not just in the business. And the fun thing that Michael and I do so well is we help shine a light on the business. We help you craft your unique selling proposition so that you do stand out, so that you do get those phone calls.
Yeah, and there's one thing that I love about home service businesses is that, one, there's so many elements when we talk about like what is the three core desires, right? That for messaging, when we're talking about messaging, we're like, is it health, wealth, or relationships? And with home services, like, you can sprinkle in all of them, all of them almost into one message, but really focus on one piece. So when I think of the holidays, when the holidays come up, even I fall victim to it, where it's like, I want people to come to my house, and I want to have the best kitchen on the block, right? I want people to come over and be like, "Ooh, look at Michael's kitchen," right? And that's a status thing, right? So it's like when I'm thinking about, hey, I want to, because we just painted our house in Florida, right? Like the inside, and I was thinking like, what colors can it be? I want people to know it's new and it's vibrant and all this other stuff. And it's like, that status of like relationship status. But at the same time, I can add value from a wealth standpoint, because when I update my kitchen, well, now it's like, well, now I added value to my home, because we have a house in Columbus, and that house is like, it needs an updated kitchen. Everything else is nice, but like, man, for some reason kitchens are expensive. And that's great for a home service business, and it adds value to it, and you get to be the person who's like, "Ooh, look at those cabinets, look at the work." My wife loves that stuff.
Yeah.
And where we are right now, she's like, "I hate this kitchen. It has nothing that I want. There's no room." Because she's used to these bigger kitchens. She's like, "I don't want it. I don't even want to cook no more." And it's like, oh my gosh, that's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So I think summing everything up, really, if you want growth in your business, you do have to take the time to work on the business. You got to be intentional with your schedule. It's not about remodeling. It's not about growing your business. It's about really following your schedule. Does your schedule match your goals? Do you even have goals, or are you just hoping that growth comes? Like, which a lot of us do. A lot of entrepreneurs do that. We became entrepreneurs because we didn't want to follow a boss or listen to, do the 9 to 5 thing. And so we became our own boss. However, when we bring that discipline in, growth happens. And if you guys would love to talk about this, we would love to talk about this with you. Go to cruxlocal.com. I'd love to sit down and we can build out what we talked about last week, the GPS for your business. We can show you the path to go to really see that growth. And we can also show you what competitors are stealing your lunch right now, who's out there doing the right things to get in front of your clients, and what you can do, and more importantly, what not to do, that you reverse those stats.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a free gift that I'm putting together that I would love to give people. So before I announce it, if you want that gift, go to cruxlocal.com, set up a meeting with us, and I will show you exactly how to use it, how to implement it, and it's a little bit of scarcity.
A
Only the
teaser
people who sign a teaser. That's the word I wanted.
coming
All
soon.
right. Thank you.
See you.